Hi everyone, this video is a mix of a review of this little e-bike behind me here and my thoughts overall on whether I think that a folding e-bike like this is a valuable or useful thing for SUV campers and van dwellers, van campers, truck campers, all of us in this category. Is it a good thing for us to consider bringing on our trips with us? This is the Lectric XP 2.0 folding e-bike. Lectric did send me this bike for free to make a video about and to do a review of. They're one of about half a dozen companies that have reached out to me in the last 6 months or so wanting me to review their e-bike or their electric scooter, some kind of electrically wheeled gadget. And I said no to all of them except Lectric because I'd actually heard of this company before. This is a company that's based in the US, and when you reach out to them, they'll respond to you in native English and they'll respond quickly. And so this is a company that I have faith in to be around in more than 6 months. And that's why I said yes to them. I've been using this e-bike quite a bit over the last month or two, and I wanted to wait until I had 100 miles on it before I made the video review so that it was more than just a first impressions review. This certainly isn't a long-term review, but I think 100 miles is a good, that's a good spot to stop and reflect on the bike and see what I like and what I don't like about it. So this is the Lectric XP 2.0 in black. It retails for $999. It is a 7-speed bike. That means it can be pedaled as a regular bike. And then there are 5 pedal assist modes here on the bike itself. And what that means is basically the amount of power that the bike will give you once you start pedaling and the top speed that it'll go once you start pedaling. There are 5 different levels of that. In addition to the pedaling and the pedal assist, there is a throttle right here, so you don't have to pedal at all. You can just go vroom vroom. And it's like a little mini electric motorcycle. And that's mostly how I've been riding the bike. I'd say about 80% of my riding on this bike has been just using the throttle, and about 20% has been using the pedal assist options. The range on this is between 20 and 45 miles on a single charge, depending on how you ride it. 20 miles is full throttle, electric only, no pedaling. And 45 miles is what you would get if you're cruising along in a low pedal assist mode and also pedaling. It has a great little screen here that's visible in full daylight. It has battery information, your current speed, the pedal assist level that you're currently in, which goes from 0, which is no pedal assist, and then up to 5 for maximum pedal assist. Down here at the bottom is the odometer. This is the total odometer. I have 102 miles on this so far. Then you can cycle through by pressing this button over here with your thumb. And it has a trip odometer, tells you the voltage of the battery, the current that you're currently drawing, the amount of time for your current trip. It's been on right now for 4 minutes, 44 seconds. Then we're back at the total odometer. Both the seat and the handlebar are adjustable to fit a variety of heights. I'm 5'11" and it fit me no problem, and I have plenty of room to play with. The seat will definitely go higher. The capacity on the bike itself is 320 pounds. Then on the little rack back here, it's about 75 pounds. There's no rear suspension, but there is nice front suspension, and there are fat tires. These are 20-inch by 3-inch tires. They're nice and wide. This is not a mountain bike, but it is a capable bike. I've ridden it on roads, on bike lanes, bike paths, sidewalks, dirt, gravel, grass, everything. And basically, it felt fine on all of those. I would not ride it on like technical single track or anything like that. But for this, for example, it's fine riding on this little dirt road right here. That's not an issue. Basically anything you can find in a city this can easily handle, and then I'd say, moderate, quote-unquote, off-roading. And this part right here is the battery. It is a removable battery. It is a replaceable battery. The replacement costs about $300. I really like that the battery is removable because where I live, it gets very cold and snowy in winter. I won't be able to ride this in winter, and so I'm going to be putting the bike in storage, but the storage unit is unheated, and extreme cold temperatures like that aren't good for a bike's battery or for batteries in general. And so when it comes time to put this in storage for the season, I can remove the battery, keep that at home, not have to worry about it losing some of its capacity or going bad over the winter. There's a little headlight here in the front, and then there's a little brake light in the back. These are fine for people to see you as far as visibility goes when it's, I don't know, dawn or dusk, but I wouldn't use these as my primary lights. If you're riding at night, you're going to want to get a brighter headlight. This obviously is the bike when it's unfolded. I will put the dimensions as I've measured them on the screen here of when the bike is folded up. One thing I want to say about the sizing when it's unfolded like this is that it's bigger than I thought it would be. It's not a little clown bike. You don't feel silly riding it. It's not like a miniature bike. It's smaller obviously than a full size, like 26-inch bike, but it's not a small bike, and that's both good and bad, and I'll get more into that a little bit later. It is a heavy bike. It weighs about 64, 65 pounds is what I measured it at. With the lock, so I have a lock right here, and I have my third-party phone mount on the handlebars there. With all of that, it weighs about 66 pounds. If you find that number hard to relate to, because it's just a number, it's heavy. It's not light, it's not easy to move around. It is difficult to lug around, to just lift. As far as wheeling it around when it's closed, when it's folded, that's not really much of an issue, that's not a problem. It wheels around pretty easily. But if you're trying to manhandle it and put it up in your car, it's pretty hard. It's a heavy bike. As a bike, as an e-bike, I love it. I've been riding this thing a lot. I ride it almost every day. I ride it to the store, running errands, to the post office. I just go on joyrides around town. This is a great e-bike. I would pay $1,000 for this bike. It's fun, it works great, it's comfortable. I think that if you are looking for an e-bike in this price range, this is a great option to consider. And as far as folding it up goes, we live in an apartment and we store it folded up in the living room. It's great. It's obviously not like a tiny thing once it's all folded up, but it is small enough that I don't feel like it's taking up the entire living room. Overall, I really like this bike. There are some things I don't like about it. Like I said, it's heavy. It's not the kind of thing you can just easily move in and out of your car. I can move it in and out of my cars, but I don't think my wife could move it in and out of a car. I don't think my mom could move it in and out of a car because you do have to lift it up. It's big, it's awkward, it's heavy. You can't just grab it one-handed and toss it into your back seat. Doesn't work like that. I did, by the way, test to see if it could fit folded up in the front seat of my Yukon here. It's a little bit too big for that, in case you were wondering. But I'll show you some footage of me loading it into the back of the Yukon and in the back of my RAV4. When you're pedaling the bike without any pedal assist mode, you really feel the weight of the bike. It's not an easy cruise. You certainly can pedal it without any type of power. It's not a huge deal as long as it's flat, but man, trying to pedal it up a hill, it's a little bit rough. Another thing I didn't like is that there's no locking mechanism to lock it all together once it's folded down. So you fold it down and then you try to wheel it off somewhere, and the handlebars will kind of flop around and the two main halves kind of go apart and come back together, and it makes it kind of awkward to move it around. So I wish there was some kind of locking mechanism to lock everything in place when you have folded down all the various bits and pieces. The charging port is on the side here. You plug the charger in here to charge up the battery. I wish this charging plug were on the other side here, because when the bike is folded up, this side folds like this, and when it's folded, it's hard to access the plug. It's hard to physically insert the plug in there when the bike is folded up. You have to kind of bring the pieces apart a little bit and then you can stick it in there. I don't know why they did it on this side instead of on the other side. I think that would have made more sense. This is a 7-speed bike when pedaling in manual mode, and when you're going about 20 miles an hour, even when you're in 7 here, pedaling doesn't do a whole lot. I wish there was better gearing so that you could have a little bit more input. You could go a little bit faster when you're at the top speed. I'm sure you know the feeling of riding a bike going downhill and you're in the wrong gear and you spin the pedals and there's nothing. You feel no resistance. It doesn't do any good. You're just free pedaling. That's kind of what this is like when you're going at faster speeds, and you can't get beyond that. So those are my thoughts about the bike itself. I'm not a bike reviewer. I'm not an e-bike reviewer. There are people who make a living by making videos and reviews of both e-bikes and regular bikes. If you want to learn more details about the bike itself, I would suggest watching one of those videos. I'm a pretty casual cyclist, so I'm not going to go, and I can't really go into like super detail about all the technical components of this bike. But what I can do is talk about using this bike for SUV RVing, or again, car camping, van life, truck camping, whatever purposes. And I have a list here of how you could use a bike like this on your travel. So let's go through these. The first is to ride it around cities if you don't want to find parking in like the core center of a city, or if you don't want to pay for parking in the core center of a city, you can park a little bit farther out, unload your e-bike, and then ride into town. Or if you just want to experience a town on an e-bike by choice, like if you want to ride along a green belt or a trail along a river, e-bikes are fantastic for that. Or if you want to just explore like the historic part of a city without having to drive, but if you want to go a little bit slower without dealing with traffic, an e-bike is perfect for that. Another way you could use a bike like this when traveling is to go beyond where a car can go. So for example, on a recent trip to Colorado, there were 2 times when the road was closed, like the road was closed to cars. Both of these were for construction reasons, I think. But you could still walk and you could still bike beyond those barriers along the road. This would have been perfect for that. Another example off the top of my head, there's a geyser in Yellowstone called Lone Star Geyser that you can walk or ride a bike to. Cassie, my wife, and I went there a few years ago, and it was great. We walked there, and it was a nice walk, but it's along like a road, basically an old road. And we saw people riding their bikes to and from there, and we thought, man, that would be a good way to do it. An even better way to do it would be on an e-bike. Just cruise quickly out there, quickly cruise back. Another use for something like this is if you want to complete a loop. So for example, if you park here and you do a hike, or you do like a float trip in your kayak or pack raft or whatever, you park here, you hike or float to here, and then what do you do once you get to this point? You either have to retrace your steps if you're hiking, or you have to walk or hitch a ride back to your car. Something like this makes it much easier. So you just basically stash the bike at the end point, drive back to the starting point, do the hike or the float or whatever, and then once you're done, you get to the bike and then you ride the bike back to your car. That's a situation I've encountered a bunch of times on my trips, and something like this will make those journeys easier and practical and even possible in a way that I wouldn't even have thought about doing that before. I know a lot of RVers pack e-bikes with them so that they can go around campgrounds, or so that if they have their big old camper or trailer or whatever in the campground, they can ride their e-bikes to a local laundromat or to the store, or they can ride it to the office or to the bathroom in the campground. I don't stay at RV parks. I don't stay at established campgrounds, so something like that for me isn't especially useful. But I do stay in dispersed campsites, and so in a place like this, which is, I'm out on BLM land right now, there's a network of dirt roads out here. If I were to camp in a place like this, I could bust this out and then just go explore the little dirt roads around the campsite. So again, overall, great e-bike. I love it for cruising around town is just a little bit too big for me, too heavy, too cumbersome for me to want to take on a trip if I'm using it just like occasionally on a trip. If I were to use it every day on a trip, or if I were to use it as an integral component of a trip, like if I needed an e-bike to do something specific, then sure, I would take this bike with me. If it's something that you're going to use just like maybe on a trip, just for fun, just occasionally, a smaller e-bike or even an electric scooter I think would be better. Hope that was helpful. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think. Thanks again to Lectric for sending me this e-bike. I'm excited to take it on more adventures with me here in the future. And let me know what your experiences have been like with electric bikes like this, especially when it comes to traveling with them. Let me know what your experiences have been. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.